Feeling lost in the shifting sands of what being a man means today? You're not alone. From navigating emotional vulnerability to the pressure of having it all, modern masculinity comes with a unique set of challenges. Join us as we unpack the unspoken truths and quiet battles many men are fighting, seeking clarity in a confusing world. You enter the barbershop, and the chatter abruptly ceases. Three men are in the middle of a heated debate about who embodies true manhood, measured by their weekend exploits. One boasts about his recent hunting expedition. Another showcases his impressive deadlift statistics. The third name drops the collection of sports cars residing in his garage. They are all projecting an image of masculinity, akin to actors auditioning for the same singular role, each striving to outdo the others, with progressively elaborate displays of traditionally male behavior. Meanwhile, you sit there, questioning your own standing as a man. You spend your days behind a computer screen. You have never personally harvested your own meal. You lack the practical knowledge to perform basic car maintenance. Your facial hair is not substantial enough to provide shelter for small woodland creatures. By the metrics of the performance unfolding around you, you are failing at being a man on every conceivable front. However, these men in the barbershop fail to grasp a crucial point. They are entangled in a costume competition, entirely disconnected from the essence of genuine masculinity. They are engaged in a theatrical performance of manhood, where the props and the script evolve with each passing generation, while the core nature of being a man remains entirely independent of their ostentatious displays. Today, I intend to dismantle every layer of performed masculinity, societal expectation, and cultural conditioning to unveil what truly constitutes a man. Because once you differentiate between authentic manhood and the superficial costume, you will comprehend that much of what you believe is necessary to be a man is, in reality, hindering your path to becoming one. Modern men are inundated with contradictory directives on how to correctly perform masculinity. Each epoch, each cultural sphere, each societal movement presents a distinct set of criteria for masculine authenticity. One era mandates stoic suppression of emotions. The subsequent era insists on open, vulnerable emotional expression. One culture champions aggressive rivalry, another promotes collaborative partnerships. This prevalent confusion stems from our conflation of the outward appearance with the underlying substance. We have muddled the outward manifestations of masculinity with its inherent core. We have come to believe that being a man equates to successfully enacting certain behaviors rather than embodying certain fundamental principles. The consequence is that countless men are attempting to learn masculinity as if it were a foreign language, meticulously memorizing phrases and gestures that feel unnatural because they do not originate from an authentic masculine core. They are studying masculinity from an external perspective, rather than cultivating it from within. This outward-focused approach to masculinity breeds men who are perpetually anxious about whether they are fulfilling their masculine roles correctly. They are constantly measuring their performance against some external yardstick, perpetually worried they are not man enough, and ceaselessly attempting to validate their manhood through increasingly elaborate demonstrations. The poignant reality is that this performance anxiety actively undermines true masculinity. When your focus is on appearing masculine, you are diverting attention from actually being masculine. When you are preoccupied with meeting external benchmarks, you become disconnected from your inner sense of authority. When you are striving to prove your manhood, you are operating from a place of masculine insecurity rather than inherent masculine confidence. The performance of masculinity has become so intricate that many men can no longer discern between genuine masculine attributes and expertly executed masculine acting. They have learned to dress like men, talk like men, walk like men, and participate in activities traditionally associated with men, all while remaining fundamentally estranged from their inherent masculine nature. This trap of performance is particularly perilous because it offers the superficial social rewards of masculinity without fostering the underlying psychological foundation of it. Men can receive external validation for their perceived masculinity while never cultivating genuine masculine self-assurance within themselves. The individuals who excel at this performance often become the most fervent proponents of traditional masculine behaviors, as their entire sense of identity is contingent upon preserving the significance of their performance. If traditionally masculine activities are deemed non-essential to manhood, then their entire approach to being a man becomes irrelevant. This fosters the creation of male communities built around shared performance standards, rather than shared masculine principles. Men form bonds over their proficiency in executing traditional masculine behaviors, rather than their allegiance to authentic masculine values. This performance trap prevents men from discovering what their individual expressions of masculinity might look like when freed from the constraints of cultural expectations regarding its appearance. They never develop their unique interpretation of manhood because they are too preoccupied with emulating the versions of others. Stroll through any retail establishment marketed towards men, and you will be confronted by an entire industry dedicated to selling masculine accoutrements. Beards, biceps, bourbon, barbells, boats, and bullets. An unending array of props promising to deliver authentic manhood through acquisition or purchase. This accessory-driven approach to masculinity implies that manhood can be attained by accumulating the correct assortment of masculine signifiers. Cultivate the appropriate facial hair. Lift the requisite weights. Operate the correct vehicle. Consume the right beverages, and you will achieve masculine authenticity through meticulous curation. The inherent flaw with accessory masculinity is that it produces men whose confidence is dependent on maintaining their collection of masculine props. Their sense of manhood becomes precarious because it is tethered to external possessions that can be lost, damaged, or fall out of fashion. More significantly, accessory masculinity establishes a hierarchy where men possessing superior accessories are deemed more masculine than those with fewer. This transforms masculinity into a contest of resource accumulation rather than character development. Men who lean most heavily on masculine accessories are frequently the most insecure about their actual masculinity. They require external affirmation of their manhood because they lack internal confidence in their masculine identity. Throughout history, every culture has developed distinct expressions of masculinity, often asserting that their particular version represents a universal masculine truth. The ancient Spartans, the medieval knights, the Victorian gentlemen, and contemporary entrepreneurs all embody vastly different masculine ideals, despite sharing the same fundamental male biology. This cultural diversity demonstrates that the expression of masculinity is largely learned and contextual, rather than fixed and universal. What defines a man in one society might lead to his disqualification from manhood in another. What is considered masculine strength in one era might become a masculine weakness in another. The divergence of cultural masculinities has intensified in today's globalized society, exposing men to dozens of different masculine archetypes simultaneously. They are bombarded with conflicting messages about the desired appearance of masculinity, leading to uncertainty regarding which version to adopt. Many men attempt to synthesize elements from various masculine traditions, resulting in hybrid identities that feel inauthentic because they are pieced together from incompatible cultural components. They end up with masculine identities that are intellectually constructed rather than organically developed. This cultural fragmentation has spawned a marketplace of masculine identities, where men shop for their preferred version of manhood, rather than cultivating their unique expression of universal masculine principles. The question, how does one be a man, would have seemed utterly perplexing to previous generations, where masculine roles were clearly delineated and socially supported. Men understood what was expected of them, how to cultivate those abilities, and when they had achieved masculine maturity. Modern men confront an unprecedented challenge, defining their own masculinity within a culture that offers conflicting guidance and minimal institutional support for masculine development. They are expected to navigate the concept of manhood independently while being inundated with contradictory advice on what manhood should entail. This breeds an identity crisis, where men are simultaneously told that masculinity is vital and that traditional masculinity is problematic. They are encouraged to embrace their masculine nature, yet warned that masculine impulses are inherently dangerous. They are expected to exhibit masculinity while being presented with feminine approved definitions of what masculinity should look like. The outcome is men who are bewildered about their fundamental identity as males. They are unsure which aspects of their nature to trust, which impulses to follow, which behaviors to embrace, or which aspirations to pursue. They are attempting to construct a masculine identity on the shifting sands of cultural ambiguity. This identity crisis engenders psychological instability, as masculine identity serves as the bedrock for male confidence, decision-making capabilities, and life direction. When men are uncertain about their masculinity, they become uncertain about everything else. Most men have learned to assess their masculinity based on the reactions of others, rather than through their own internal compass. They gauge their manhood by the degree of respect they receive, their attractiveness to women, the extent to which other men defer to them, and their proficiency in performing traditional masculine roles. This external evaluation system renders masculine confidence contingent upon social feedback, rather than personal conviction. When others affirm their masculinity, these men feel like authentic men. When others question their masculinity, they experience an identity crisis. The mirror of others creates masculine identities that are fragile and reactive, as they are constantly subject to revision based on fluctuating social responses. These men never develop a stable masculine self-concept because their understanding of their own manhood fluctuates with external circumstances. This external dependence also renders men susceptible to manipulation by anyone capable of controlling the feedback they receive regarding their masculinity. Women, employers, peers, and institutions can influence male behavior by threatening or promising masculine validation. Men who rely on the mirrors of others never develop the internal authority necessary for genuine masculine confidence. They remain psychologically reliant on approval for their fundamental sense of identity as men. If you are beginning to grasp how the performance of masculinity has become detached from its essence, and why this disconnect is fostering widespread masculine confusion and insecurity, be sure to subscribe and activate the notification bell. What I am revealing today challenges the deeply ingrained beliefs most men hold about what makes them men. And there is significantly more to explore regarding the cultivation of authentic masculine identity. True masculinity commences with the development of internal authority. This is the capacity to ascertain your own thoughts, trust your own judgment, and make decisions grounded in your own values, rather than succumbing to external pressure or seeking approval. This internal authority empowers men to act with confidence, irrespective of social feedback. The majority of contemporary men suffer from a deficit of internal authority because they have been conditioned to seek validation from others rather than cultivating self-validation capabilities. They have learned to look outside themselves for answers regarding their identity and their actions. This deficit leaves men psychologically dependent on others for their fundamental sense of direction and purpose. They struggle to make critical decisions without consensus, hesitate to pursue goals without encouragement, and find it difficult to maintain confidence without consistent reassurance. Internal authority is honed through the process of decision making, experiencing the repercussions, learning from the outcomes, and progressively building confidence in one's own judgment. This necessitates embracing accountability for results, rather than attributing failures to external circumstances. Men who develop robust internal authority become intrinsically appealing to others because they operate from a foundation of self-trust, rather than a desperate need for approval. They make choices based on their own assessment of situations, rather than attempting to appease everyone involved. Genuine masculinity is forged on conviction, a profound belief in principles that guide decision-making and behavior, irrespective of social pressure or personal cost. These convictions provide the psychological bedrock that enables men to act with strength and consistency across diverse scenarios. Cultivating conviction demands extensive introspection to identify what one genuinely believes, as opposed to what one perceives they should believe. This process involves scrutinizing inherited beliefs, examining cultural programming, and testing ideas against personal experiences to ascertain what resonates as authentically true. Most men operate without clear convictions because they have never invested the time in developing a personal philosophy. They react to situations based on immediate emotions or societal expectations, rather than acting from deliberate principles. Developing conviction necessitates confronting the reality that holding strong beliefs will inevitably lead to conflict with those who hold divergent views. This friction is unavoidable, as clear stances naturally invite opposition from those with incompatible perspectives. Men with strong convictions become focal points in social settings because they operate from stable internal reference points, rather than shifting with the prevailing social currents. Their consistency fosters trust and respect from others, even from those who disagree with their specific beliefs. Authentic masculinity demands courage, the willingness to act in accordance with one's convictions, despite potential negative repercussions. This courage differentiates men who merely possess beliefs from those who live by them. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action taken in the presence of fear. True men experience the same fears as everyone else, but they act according to their principles despite those fears. They accept that undertaking the right course of action often entails personal risk or sacrifice. Most men shy away from developing genuine courage because they prioritize safety and comfort over the uncertainty that accompanies courageous action. They opt for paths that minimize risk rather than those that align with their deepest values and aspirations. Courage is cultivated through practice, beginning with small acts of integrity and gradually building the capacity for more significant acts of principle. Each instance where you choose truth over convenience strengthens your courage muscles for more substantial challenges. The men who command genuine respect are those who exhibit a willingness to sacrifice personal comfort for their principles. This willingness signals that their convictions are authentic, not merely convenient, and that their character is reliable under duress. Masculinity fundamentally involves accepting accountability for one's life circumstances, one's choices, and the resultant consequences. This acceptance signifies acknowledging one's role in shaping the current situation and one's power to influence future outcomes. Taking responsibility requires abandoning a victim mentality and blame-focused thinking, which attributes difficulties to external forces beyond one's control. While external circumstances undeniably influence outcomes, a masculine response concentrates on what is controllable, not what is beyond one's influence. Most men resist full accountability because it is psychologically simpler to attribute their struggles to circumstances, other individuals, or systemic factors. Embracing responsibility means acknowledging that one possesses greater power and therefore a greater obligation than victimhood allows. The acceptance of responsibility transforms men from passive pawns of circumstance into active architects of their life experiences. This transformation cultivates confidence, as it is founded on tangible capability rather than external validation. Men who embrace complete responsibility for their lives naturally inspire confidence in others because they demonstrate the capacity to influence outcomes through their choices and actions. This capability makes them valuable allies and desirable partners. Each man must discover his unique manifestation of universal masculine principles, rather than merely imitating the expressions of others. This discovery necessitates experimentation with various approaches to identify what feels natural and sustainable for one's personality, interests, and values. Authentic masculine expression emerges from the confluence of one's innate temperament, developed proficiencies, and personal values. It cannot be discovered through imitation, as it must be calibrated to one's specific psychological and physical characteristics. This process of discovery requires patience, as authentic expression develops gradually through trial and error. One must attempt different approaches, observe what feels genuine versus what feels forced, and refine one's masculine expression based on honest self-assessment. Many men fail to uncover their authentic masculine expression because they are excessively focused on emulating successful models, rather than developing their own methodology. They remain psychological replicas of other men, rather than becoming original versions of themselves. Authentic masculine expression fosters natural confidence because it aligns with one's true nature, rather than opposing it. When one's external conduct is congruent with one's internal reality, one operates with integration, free from internal conflict. Authentic masculinity requires the development of personal standards that define acceptable behavior for oneself and for others, and then upholding those standards irrespective of social pressure or personal convenience. These standards become the boundaries that safeguard one's integrity and self-respect. Standards must be self-imposed, not externally dictated, because external standards can be withdrawn or altered by others. Personal standards remain steadfast because they are rooted in one's convictions, not in the approval of others. Most men compromise their standards to avoid conflict, preserve relationships, or pursue opportunities. Each compromise erodes their self-respect and makes future compromises more probable. Over time, compromise standards lead to men who cannot trust themselves to act with integrity. Maintaining standards necessitates accepting that certain individuals will reject you. Some opportunities will become inaccessible, and some relationships will conclude. This acceptance is crucial, as standards that are not enforced are not genuine standards. Men who possess clear, maintained standards naturally command respect because they demonstrate the capacity for self-discipline and a willingness to sacrifice convenience for integrity. This demonstration fosters trust and attracts individuals who value reliability. Authentic masculinity involves dedicating one's capabilities to purposes that transcend personal pleasure, comfort, or advancement. This mission-oriented approach redirects masculine energy from self-centered consumption to contribution focused on others. Mission provides a directional focus for masculine energy and capabilities, channeling them towards meaningful achievements rather than aimless pursuits. In the absence of a mission, men often dissipate their potential through entertainment, consumption, or purposeless competition. Discovering an authentic mission requires identifying what one cares about deeply enough to make sacrifices for, what problems one wishes to resolve, what value one intends to create, or what legacy one desires to build. This mission must resonate with one's deepest values, rather than conforming to external expectations. Men driven by mission naturally attract followers because they provide direction and inspiration to others who share similar values. They become leaders not through self-promotion, but through their dedication to purposes that others find compelling. The fulfillment derived from a mission-driven existence cannot be achieved through self-centered pursuits. Men discover their most profound fulfillment by contributing to causes greater than themselves, rather than by hoarding personal gains. Genuine male camaraderie takes root not in shared pastimes, but in a collective dedication to self-improvement. This bond arises organically between men who honor each other's integrity and commitment to personal growth. A foundation built on character offers mutual backing for upholding principles, pursuing objectives, and honing abilities. These connections thrive on candid dialogue, accountability, and encouragement for genuine maturation, as opposed to applause for mere accomplishments. The majority of male social circles coalesce around common interests, activities, or situations, rather than shared core values. While such groups offer amusement and companionship, they fall short in nurturing true masculine development because their structure doesn't prioritize character refinement. True brotherhood necessitates openness about challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties, rather than projecting an image of complete control. This willingness to be vulnerable fosters deeper bonds than relationships centered on outward success. Men engaged in authentic brotherhood inspire each other to reach their full potential, rather than condoning complacency or detrimental habits. They provide the essential social scaffolding for continuous progress, while maintaining expectations for ongoing advancement. The ultimate test of genuine masculinity involves integrating every facet of oneself. Strengths and weaknesses, light and shadow, triumphs and failures, into a unified sense of self that acknowledges complexity while maintaining a clear trajectory. This integration demands embracing those aspects of oneself that deviate from idealized masculine archetypes, while simultaneously continuing to cultivate talents and character. Such acceptance serves as a bulwark against the shame and self-condemnation that erode genuine self-assurance. Most men opt to conceal or eradicate parts of themselves perceived as unmanly, instead of incorporating those elements into a complete identity. This internal schism leads to psychological fragmentation, weakening overall effectiveness. Integration, however, facilitates growth and change without triggering an identity crisis, as one's fundamental sense of self is not contingent on maintaining specific traits or proficiencies. One can evolve while remaining fundamentally oneself. Integrated individuals naturally inspire confidence because they operate with internal consistency rather than adopting different personas for varying circumstances. Their authenticity cultivates psychological security in others and draws individuals who value sincere connection. The fundamental reality of masculinity is that it cannot be acquired, performed, or demonstrated to others. It is a quality that must be unearthed, cultivated, and expressed from within. It emerges at the confluence of self-awareness, personal conviction, and the bravery to live in accordance with one's intrinsic nature.
All else, the beards, the muscles, the boats, the spirits, are optional accoutrements that may or may not resonate with one's personal expression of masculine ideals. They can enhance one's masculine presence if they feel genuine, but they cannot create masculinity if it isn't already blossoming internally. The men who attain authentic masculinity are those who cease striving to meet external benchmarks and instead cultivate internal authority. They concentrate on character over image, substance over superficiality, and integrity over performance. This does not imply a rejection of all traditionally masculine pursuits or expressions. Rather, it means embracing them because they align with one's authentic self, not because they are prerequisites for masculine approval. It means discerning which masculine traditions contribute to one's development and which ones hinder it. True masculinity is simultaneously less complex and more demanding than its performance-oriented counterpart. It is simpler because it does not require mastering intricate skills or acquiring costly possessions. It is more demanding because it necessitates the honest introspection and persistent character development that most men spend their lives evading. Men who grasp this distinction cease participating in costume competitions of masculinity and instead focus on forging an authentic masculine identity. They recognize that genuine masculinity needs no external validation. It is confirmed by the congruence between one's values and one's actions. If this exploration of authentic versus performed masculinity has illuminated why so many contemporary men grapple with confusion and insecurity regarding their masculine identity, subscribe to this channel for further insights into cultivating genuine self-assurance and character. Activate the notification bell, as understanding these principles could liberate you from the draining demands of performance that most men mistakenly equate with masculinity itself. Share this video with any man who is weary of attempting to prove his masculinity through external accomplishments and desires to comprehend what genuine manhood truly entails. The distinction between men who perform masculinity and those who embody it is akin to the difference between actors playing roles and warriors living their purpose.